Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Once again, congratulations to your admissions results. This is once again, as I was saying yesterday, the result of all your hard work, and you should feel proud about the fact that you've been admitted to Chalmers. It is not an easy university to get admitted to. It has a very high rejection rate. We look for the best students, and so it simply shows what kind of a caliber you as an applicant and you as a student are carrying, which means that we have very high hopes for you when you come to Chalmers and become part of our community. I have a presentation for you today. I also have with me my colleague Linda. Would you like to introduce yourself, Linda?
Hi, yes, I'm Linda. I might have met some of you around Europe when we've been traveling this spring. Please say hi to me if you turn up here in August, as we hope as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and of course, at any point in time, if you know Linda, if you've met Linda, use the thumbs up reaction so we know that you've actually seen her.
Oh!
There we go. There's somebody that used your thumbs up that actually met you, Linda.
Awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very, very nice. All right, so we have a presentation, as I told you, and you might not have noticed this, but the webinar is being recorded right now, and this is for internal use. And so I'll just quickly go on to the next slide for you to understand what we are going to be doing today, right? So we are recording it. It's only for internal use. We haven't planned to put it out yet. And if we do, it will probably be edited in some way, and then we might make it available. But if it is going to be made available, you will be the first people to know about it. There will be a Q&A. Right now, the Q&A is turned off because we want to be able to go through the full presentation and give you all the information. And at the end of it, we can open for Q&A and you can ask your questions. We won't be able to answer all the questions you ask, but that is not the purpose of that Q&A session either. It is for you to raise your questions, and we will pick out questions that we can answer. And then, of course, we'll try our best to kind of provide the answers to your questions in another format, perhaps by email. And if you don't get your answers, let's say that we don't manage to send you an email, let's say we don't manage to answer all of your questions today, you always can get in touch with us through our email address, study@chalmers.se. This is the email that sent you the invitation to today's webinar, for example. So if you even just respond to that email, you will simply come into our inboxes and we will be answering it. We are 4 people. Oh, I actually forgot to introduce myself.
Yes, you did.
My name is Abhilash, and I work with student support at Chalmers, amongst other things. So me, Linda, and we have 2 more people that are in our team. We are a total of actually 6 people that make up this team today. But different people do different things, and sometimes people just come into the team for a short period of time. So essentially, we are 4 people, but today we are 6. You can also chat with us and with our student ambassadors. If you haven't done it yet, you are able to do that by simply, you can scan the QR code that you see to my right side, the bottom right corner of my screen. You have a QR code, and you can always scan that code. You will also see this code show up in other parts of the presentation. You can scan that, and you will join a community of only students. We are not in that community, so you will be able to talk with each other in a private space, so you can ask each other questions. The only point there is that you do not confuse each other. What information you are getting today during this webinar will not be the same information that other students get today at 3 p.m. Swedish time. So there is different information being given out to different groups of people because that is what is relevant to them. So what we tell you today may not apply to those other students that have their webinar today at 3 p.m. So just make sure that when you share information, you're sharing it with the full understanding of who you're speaking with and whether that information is actually relevant for them. In fact, my advice would be don't answer their questions with any fact. Rather, send them to us. If they have a question, send them to us. Send them to our email or to our chat.
To our website.
To our website. And that is where you will find the correct information. This presentation, we will try and edit it slightly, and then we will make it available to you as well by email at a later point in time, probably next week. Right? Moving on, this is our schedule. As you've seen, we've already had 1 session yesterday. If you attended yesterday's session, you met Jürgen, you met Sebastian, and you met Varsha, the vice president of the university, the president of the student union, and the president of the International Reception Committee, respectively. Today we are going to be talking about practicalities, and so let's get on with that subject. So, just before we get into the practicalities, the next steps in your process are as follows. For you, you are considered not fee paying students because you are most of you are EU citizens, if not you have another status that makes you non fee paying. And if you are in that case, then for you there is nothing that is guaranteeing you housing. So for you, the housing process should start immediately. If it hasn't already started, you should start it immediately. And the way you go about doing that will be something we will discuss in a moment. But the point here is that you must look into housing as quickly as possible. Between the 12th of August and the 1st of September, you have an opportunity to activate your account and make sure that you go through the online enrollment process. Now, this is something that takes all of maybe 15 minutes at most. It's an online process. You do that only between this period of time, the 12th of August to the 1st of September. And the earlier you do it within that period of time. So if you do it already on the 12th, you finished it and you can forget about it. So put it into your calendar that on the 12th of August, you have to activate your account on the Chalmers website. You will find the information. We will send this information by email as well, so you'll receive a newsletter closer to the date telling you to register and to activate your account and things like that. Activating your account is important because it gives you access to all the digital services that we have for students. So it's a good thing for you to get started. It gives you your email account and access to all the softwares you'll be using and the learning platform that we will use called Canvas and so on and so forth. So a lot of things come together through this. So it's a good thing for you to put it on your calendar right now, 12th of August, so that you can activate your account and online enrollment.
There will also come more information
Exactly.
later on. This is just to get you started.
Exactly. So I know this is only April and there's months before you go. So that is why we said start with housing. That is the priority for you. That is the one that will take most time, right? And then of course in August you also have this enrollment on campus thing, and you need to. So only activating your account and enrolling online is not enough. You need to also physically be present on campus. I'll also show you during the presentation, I'll share my screen and show you a web page where all of this information is. That link will be sent to you by email. This presentation will be sent to you by email. So you are going to get this information in repeated manner over and over again. The reason for that is that if you miss one email or one session, you shouldn't miss it out completely, right? At the end of August, there will be an arrival day, and then there will be an orientation week. And the orientation week then flows into what is called the reception month or months. If you attended yesterday's session, once again, Varsha, the president of the International Reception Committee, she was saying that there will be one arrival day. They will be at the airport, and these students are volunteers. So the reception committee is a student committee, is a student organization, and they will be at the airport. They will welcome you on that day if you're arriving between working hours, right? So between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. They will be there to welcome you and then send you into the city. And there, when you arrive in the city, there will be more student volunteers to show you to your destination. Similarly, there will be an orientation week where the university and the union, the student union together, give you a lot of information. And then, of course, that flows into the reception week, which is where the reception committee or the international reception committee that I spoke of will take over and do a lot of social activities so that you get to know each other and build that global network that you're looking for while you study at Chalmers. The 1st of September will be your first day of the semester, will be the first day of classes. And so it's important that you join and you start studying. There will be some welcome activities, of course, but there will also be the basic first lecture that you get will probably be on the 1st of September. Moving on to the actual practicalities. We will look at something called the Swedish personal identity number. So since you are in Europe, you probably have a variation of this in your own country as well. A number that helps the tax authorities and the population register identify you. This is a number that you can access after you actually come to Sweden. So you will come to Sweden, and once you've settled down, once you have an address here, is when you can go to the population register office and register with them. This will give you this 10-digit personal number, Swedish personal identity number. This number is very, very important in Swedish society because it not only identifies you, it also allows you access to most, if not all, of society's benefits. And this includes things like being able to open a bank account or an insurance, getting yourself a phone number or a membership at a supermarket or a gym or whatever. All of these things come together through this number. At some point in time, perhaps, and there is a possibility that you don't want a phone number because your, let's say, German number works in Sweden just as well. That is true. So you don't need a personal number in that way. Maybe you want to just continue using your Portuguese bank account while you're here, or you don't want any supermarket memberships. It's all up to you. You can choose how to go about this, but there is a possibility for you to get the Swedish personal identity number after you arrive here. Insurance. When speaking of insurance, it's kind of important to also speak about healthcare in general. So I'd like to differentiate healthcare from insurance. Healthcare is subsidized in Sweden for anyone that has a personal identity number. So if you go to a clinic or a hospital, you won't have to pay full price if you have a Swedish personal identity number. So there's a subsidy on healthcare, and then you have insurance, which affects healthcare, right? So if you do have an expensive procedure, you can rely on insurance to subsidize that cost for you. And Chalmers covers you while you are on campus and on your travel directly between campus and home. That's the only 2 points in time when you are covered through the insurance that Chalmers gives you. It is good for you to obtain a European health insurance card from your from your own home country, and this card will also help you access certain subsidized healthcare and insurance here in Sweden. Finally, it's also important to kind of keep in mind that it is good for you to obtain a normal home insurance or some other kind of accident insurance when you are in Sweden. Because, as I said, this is an insurance that only covers you while you're on campus or on the travel between home and campus. So if you're at home, let's say you dropped coffee onto your laptop, or your phone fell into the toilet, or it fell from the balcony down to the 10th from the 10th floor or whatever. These kinds of things happen to all of us. And it's important and useful to have some kind of insurance that covers all of these kinds of accidents and unforeseen circumstances. Moving on, we have living costs. The cost of living in Sweden and Scandinavia is legendary for being, very high. But it doesn't have to be that high if you simply plan your life around it. The total cost can be anything between 10,800 Swedish crowns or to 13,100 Swedish crowns. And this is not an exact number. It might be below 10,800 or higher than 13,100. And your lifestyle is what is going to dictate that number. Where you live will, of course, be the biggest cost you pay. The rent is going to be the biggest part of your monthly expenses. Food will come next, and then probably public transport, or they might be interchangeable in position on your hierarchy of costs. But the general cost of living includes all of these things. It includes books, it includes your gym membership, and everything that you do in your leisure. So one of the ways by which you can reduce your cost of living is buying secondhand, and Sweden has a very strong secondhand culture. We have lots of secondhand stores all around town, and they sell everything from screws all the way up to furniture, right? Like, so you can get cups and saucers, you can get water boilers, and all the way up to entire sofas and beds and mirrors and clothes, and there's everything you can get from there, and they're usually in very good quality as well. So it's good for you to go to these secondhand stores because they will sell them usually at a fraction of the original price. And there is a circular economy which results in some kind of sustainability. Yes, so when you're done with your use and you finished your 2 years, and you either want to find a bigger apartment, move into something else, and you don't want to take these things with you, you can just take it back to the secondhand store, and they will happily take it back. They won't pay you for it, but they will happily take it back and sell it back into society once again for somebody else that needs it. So it's a good thing that you would be doing by going to a secondhand store. Another way to reduce your cost is, of course, cooking your own food instead of eating at a restaurant. Even if actually this Chalmers campus offers a variety of options that are cheap in terms of student food. So you can of course go to a local restaurant in your or a restaurant in your building, for example, or a cafe in your building, and you will be able to of course grab a sandwich or a lunchbox for a small price. But it might still be useful for you to bring a lunchbox from home, which might reduce your cost even further.
But also sharing apartment is a good way of
Actually, that is
saving
true.
money.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of housing, let's speak about housing, because I somehow get a feeling that I have not included a housing slide. The housing thing, I will actually share my screen and talk about it. Just give me 1 second. Sharing, and let's go here. All right. So what you're looking at is the Chalmers website. We are going here and we are looking at application and admission. And then we are finding ourselves on the key dates. Application for masters. And then we will find our key dates here. Now, these are the important dates that I was talking about when I was showing you the very first slide. Over here, you see, for example, the orientation week is in August, the arrival day is in August, and the September first day of the autumn. And you have this link here that says new student. When you click on new student, you come to a page that shows you exactly the different things that you are supposed to be. Oh, what happened here?
No, I don't know.
That does not sound right. Okay. I'm
Someone's laughing.
Someone is definitely laughing about this. I think the website just went down. But lucky for me, I have some pages already loaded. So I'm going to show you the page for housing.
Oh.
Right? This is what preparation does for you, and this is what I want to send with you as a message. Prepare so you will not be caught off guard. Right? So here we are, housing in Gothenburg. This is a page that you will find under education. So once again, we clicked on education. We went to study at Chalmers, right? We went to study at Chalmers. No, I'm not going to click here, right? But study at Chalmers, and then you will click on housing over there, and that will bring you to this page, housing, right? So it's under study at Chalmers, living in Sweden, and housing, right? And when we come to housing, you will see over here there are a number of links that take you to different parts of the web page, which is important for you to understand, because some of this is about having a housing guarantee. You do not have a housing guarantee. So therefore, you click on students without housing guarantee. And here are the different kinds of students that do not have a housing guarantee. Amongst you are non-fee paying students, and then there are others that might be coming in through other modalities of studying at Chalmers, yes? So what we have over here is that we have these different housing agencies. These are student housing companies. We have the Chalmers Student Bostäder, which shares the name Chalmers, but is not owned by Chalmers. It has the name Chalmers because the Student Union of Chalmers is a part of the foundation that owns this company. Then there is SGS Student Bostäder, which is also a student housing company, which also has the student union, the Chalmers Student Union, as one of its board members. So these are two housing companies that are student housing companies, which means that they only have apartments for students. These are student-friendly apartments, not only in the form of rent, but also in the way they are built, the kind of sizes the apartments are. They're usually much smaller, they're more compact. It's about 16 to, let's say, 25 square meters. Sometimes they may have their own kitchen and toilet, bathroom, and sometimes you share one or two of or both of those amenities with someone else in a corridor. So there are lots of different options over there. The point with both of these housing companies is that you will need to be in a queue to get there. So this is something very important for you to understand about Sweden. Everything that we do here, most of the things that we do here runs on a queue system. So
Yeah.
you would queue for housing, you would queue for most other things. I'm not sure I can bring up another example right now, unfortunately, but there are a lot of queues for everything. And this is also a thing where you will end up queuing. And perhaps the queue is about a year of waiting, and you don't have that amount of time. But if you start queuing now, maybe by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, you might have a student apartment through them. And until then, you could use the private housing options. So then what you would do is you would use any of these links. Please remember, these are not people that or companies that we have any association with. So we are not in any way, working with them. What we have is that we are putting down a number of links that we can say is a digest. It's a set of links that you could check. What is important over here is you may get scammed when you go through these. So be very careful. There are bad people everywhere in the world, and Sweden is not any exception to it. So try not to get fooled by anyone. Do not pay anyone in advance. Take a look at the apartment in advance. If there is a person who is saying that they have an apartment, they should be able to turn on their phone camera and show you around their apartment and say, this is the room you will have, these are the amenities you will have, or the facilities you'll be able to use. This is what is included in the rent. This is not what is included in the rent. They should be able to send you a contract which you can sign, both of you, even without having paid anything. Right? So you should be able to get all of these things done before you actually make any kind of payment. Do not pay anyone in advance. Do not fall for a scam. Right. And it is here exactly where you can also reduce your cost of living, as Linda was speaking. She was talking about the idea of sharing an apartment. So two of you, or a few of you could rent a house as a what do you call that? It's called co-living kind of thing. There's a specific word for it. I forgot the name. But yes, so there are all of these different ways in which, or you could rent a room in an apartment that somebody else has. That format is called a second-hand contract. So you could do a lot of different things in which you get a way to reduce your cost and have a place to live.
And I just want to say again that this community that you were talking about in the beginning it's an excellent first
This code that you see
start to find friends. And you could either go into there is a section for accommodation questions, but you could also start your own section if you feel that something is missing.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for someone connected to your program or to your home country,
right,
you could ask around in this place.
So that community, that QR code that you see over there, that's the QR code for the community. It has smaller groups inside it for a program, for housing, for EU students, and so on and so forth. So you can join any of those communities. Like Linda says, create a new community if one doesn't exist. But the point here is, over there, you can find perhaps people that you can share an apartment with. Right. So you might be able to find someone that you click very well with, and you might want to share an apartment with them. That is also one way for you to find someone to, share the load, so to speak. Both of you can go, or all of you can go find an apartment, and then maybe you find a place that fits all of you together. And that's one way to kind of solve this housing issue. Yes. And as you can see over here, generally housing is furnished. It doesn't have to be that way, but generally it is. And ranges of rent is around 400 to, let's say, 800 euros a month. So it's not much more than that. Please keep that in mind when you are also being offered an apartment or a room somewhere. If somebody says they want to charge you 10,000 crowns, they are probably trying to fleece you, unless you actually have access to the entire apartment. The whole apartment could easily be 10,000 crowns. That is not very unusual. I mean, then a full apartment, which is not a student apartment, that is, right? So if it's not a student apartment, it's a normal apartment, let's say about 40 square meters, somewhere around 9,000 crowns is not unusual. Assuming, of course, that you are really close to the city center or close to the university, or it's a new building. These are things that can make the rent go up.
But also, I mean, it's not many of us live a little further outside of the city.
Yeah.
It's also an option. I mean, many of us commute into the city. It's easy.
Exactly.
So if you don't find anything in the city center, don't be too scared about that. You can always like try to find something later on as well.
Exactly. So the point or the advice that I would send with you about housing is this: find somewhere you can sleep the first couple of weeks at least. Book that in advance. Right now, book an Airbnb or a hostel or something like that. Book that for like a couple of weeks. Have that ready as a backup. And then start working on. So, as I was saying, you remember, prepare so you do not get caught off guard. Prepare so that you have a backup plan, and then you can start looking for places. If you're in Europe, it's also easy for you to visit Gothenburg. It's not so far. It's easy. We don't have difficulties connecting to the rest of Europe. So you can fly to us, and then you could or take the train to us if you want to be sustainable. And then of course you can visit the city, you can visit these different neighborhoods. You could even come into us and talk with us. We might have some time for you. So you can write to us and ask us whether we have time. You can talk with your student buddies, the student ambassadors that you've spoken to. They might be able to meet with you. So try and take the opportunity. You are closer to us than the students that we'll be speaking to later in this day, right? Here is, and this is, I wanted to bring you back to this web page here. You've got all of these different pages. It looks like the website is back live again. It is. So this was the new student page that I showed you. We were on the key dates page, and then we clicked on new student. And this gives us a page where you will see what you need to do as a new student, right? And if you remember in the very first slide, I was talking about a bunch of things that you need to do. Here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and show you that there are 10 things that you need to do as a new student, right? So if you remember what I said, yeah, so this is general information. Unless you have a message on university admission saying you need to answer this admission, you don't have anything to do. Then you activate that account. If you remember, I said it was from the 12th of August. This is where you will come and do that. You follow the instructions over here. And then step 3 is to enroll. If you remember, I also said it was not just activating your account, you have to enroll online. And this is the enrolling of the online process. And then you confirm your presence physically, which was from the 14th of August all the way to the 8th of September. That is this one here. And then you keep your information up to date on Lardok, which is where your courses get credited and your progress is monitored. And then this is where you can check for your academic year schedule. It's called Time Edit. So there you can see which courses you are going to be registered for. But for that, you need to, you need to also have your account activated. So these are in an order. So once you finish one, you will be able to see the other things. You might be able to see the courses you're registered to already over here, but I don't believe that that's the case. It might be possible, but I don't believe it's the case because you need to be registered for a course to be assigned to you. Canvas, as I was saying, is that learning platform that we use. That's where your teachers can contact you and share notes and things like that. So this is what you will be using. There will be course literature you can read about. You can read about the student union and card and access card that you will use to access different parts of the campus. And then, of course, the orientation week, which will be sometime in the end of August. There's a lot of other information here, and I really would like you to spend some time under the new student area of the website, which is under education, and also the studying at Chalmers, living in Sweden part of the website, so that you really understand what it is that we are talking about. If you
Have you
remember,
found these pages yet?
can you give us
Can
some
you
kind of
give us
reaction?
something?
Have you already been
Awesome. One has.
one? No, now everybody. Nice,
Awesome.
very well done. We're really happy that you've done this because it's going to be very useful.
Mm.
And I want to stop here because there's a whole bunch of other web pages I've opened up, but I'll get back to that in a second. So I'm going to share my presentation once again. Let's see, where are we on the presentation? There we are. And over here, you can also see that we have this blog post, which was written by Maria, which is about student life. So about living costs. So you can go to our website and you can look for that page where we have the chats, and over there you can see content, and you will notice this blog post. You can simply look for living costs and you will find it. Yeah, cool. Uh, we have a disability support center, and this is dedicated for students who need some kind of support as far as their studies are concerned. Could be any kind of documented disability, right? It's a permanent one that we're talking about. So it could be dyslexia, it could be neurodivergence, it could be mental ill health, could be physical disabilities, could be medical disabilities, or any other kind that can be documented, right? So it's a documented permanent disability that we're talking about. And this is because Chalmers is an inclusive and open space for everybody. We offer education to any and everyone that is willing to and interested in learning and implementing the things that we teach them in society. That's the whole point of the university. So it's very useful. It's a very useful thing that you have here. If you have any kind of problem, you can simply bring the documents to us. If you start this process early, it's even better. There's a website called NICE, www.nice.uhr.se, NAIS.uhr.se. And there's a lot of different kinds of support that you can get for the kind of disability that you might have. This could be reading and writing aids. It could be somebody that will help you write an exam, for example, or it could be somebody that is going to mentor you, or the hearing aids, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different kinds of things that you can get support for, but that implies that you actually have it documented and apply for the support even before you arrive, so that they can prepare for you in advance. It's easier that way than actually trying to get things done when you are here. The last but one slide that I have, or last few slides that I have, we also have something called career guidance counseling. So if you have any questions regarding a career in Sweden, once you are here, you will be able to get in touch with our career guidance counselor. There will be a lot of different kinds of things and events, activities she will be hosting, and she can help you with. So there's a lot of different things that are being done also along with our alumni coordinators. So there are people that are our alumni that come and they hold lunch lectures or workshops and webinars and things like that. So there's a lot that goes on in terms of helping you find a spot in life, so to speak, here that you can put down your roots if you want to do so. The only question is, how many of these things will you take advantage of? One of the very last slides, so this is the last but one slide that I have. Here are some topics that I thought might be useful for you, practically speaking, right? Can you be a research assistant? Can you be a teacher's assistant? There was somebody that asked this question yesterday. There's also the question about, how do I get in touch with the research groups at the university or find the publications that a professor has? How do I find a thesis, or what kinds of theses have been done by my previous, right, like my seniors from the previous years at Chalmers? Or how do I find the courses or my schedule or the syllabus to the course that I'm interested in, and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen once again, and I'm going to go through those different pages that can help you do this. But I'll start by answering the very first question just by picking up the answer from yesterday. It is possible. It is possible for you to be a research assistant or a teaching assistant. It's not common, but it's possible. And the only way you're going to do this is by either looking at the website, the Chalmers website, to see if there is a vacancy of this sort, or by actually raising the question with a teacher that you are interested in working with. So you can get in touch with a professor or a research group or whatever, and tell them that you're interested, and maybe they have a position for you, or they will at least remember that you asked them, and when one shows up, they might get in touch with you. That brings us to the next question. How do we get in touch with research groups? Let me share my screen. Just give me 1 second once again. And I also need to keep a track of time.
Yeah, should we also open up for questions?
We can do that just after I finish this. Cool. So here we have, what I did was, here are some different web pages. So I'm not going to be answering those questions in exactly the order in which I put them down. I'm going to simply go through these tabs in the order that they are. right? So I hope that I pick up as many points about what you're interested in as far as this is concerned. Now, under education, you notice a section called Your Studies, and that is where you find everything about your studies. So over here, you can find notifications about things that are happening, different events, and all of that stuff. A few shortcuts that take you to different parts of the website for you. A calendar which shows you all the different things that are going on in campus. As I told you, there's drop-in career guidance counseling, career kickstart with your CV being checked out, or information about how to write a CV, drop in with the student guidance counselor, and lots of active or articles that have been written for you. Also, a few different shortcuts about examinations and things like that, finding important dates, applying for a scholarship as a current student at the university, and of course, some other things. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff that you can find on the website. You can find a lot of information on the website. The only point is that you should spend your time familiarizing yourself with it so that you actually see what you can have help with, right? So I know that all of us as humans, our first instinct is to simply go to a person and ask a question. The problem is that that person is probably going to simply send you a link from this website, and you are going to still again have to read. So it's better if you do your homework first, read it, understand what is there, and then say, oh, this means that the question that I have is not being answered by this page. I'd like to speak with someone. That way you can also tell them, I've already checked the website and the question I'm looking for doesn't seem to be answered by that page. So this is where that is. And from there, I clicked on Find Course and Program Syllabi. That brings me over here. So under finding course and program syllabi, I can find both program overviews and course syllabi. Here I can simply search for, I don't know, let's say corrosion. I don't know why I picked that topic, but there's corrosion, right? And if I open up corrosion, I can now see everything that is for that course. I can see what it's being taught in what language, the code for it, the amount of participants it can take, the minimum number of participants for it, the block schedule, which means that it tells you during a specific study period, which is over here. You can see that it is only given during study period 1. SP is study period. So during study period 1, it is offered. It is a 7.5 credit course, and it's offered only during the study period. Right? The examination happens on the 9th of January. The examination dates are these. These are the 3 dates on which you can write examinations. So the first time you can write an examination is the 29th of October. The next time it's a re-exam, and that's the 9th of January. And then there is another re-exam on the 26th of August, right? So that is how that is done. And then you can see that it's a block schedule C, which means that in study period 1, it will follow a block schedule that looks like this. C is over here. That means that this is Monday to Friday. That means that on Monday you have from 1 to 3, and then on Thursday you have it from 8 to 10 and 10 to 12. That's it. Those are your lectures for this course. So you can see very clearly how your schedules will look, which programs this course is applied to. It's materials engineering and materials chemistry. And then, of course, it is the teacher that is hosting that program. And here we come to the question of how do we get in touch with a teacher's publications? You simply go to their page, and here you can see the publications and the projects that they're involved in, right? So you've got a number of ways in which you can get in touch with, oh, okay, this thing just keeps going between the tabs. Going back, come on, we can do this. I clicked on one too many times. Here we are. Right? So we've got all the course aim, the learning outcomes, the content, the books that will be used. And you can find these books on the Chalmers website, on the Chalmers library as well, so you can borrow it from there, right? So it's lib.chalmers.se, if I remember correctly. Yep. So that's the Chalmers website, and you can turn it to English And then, of course, when you have an account, your library account will also be active. You can search for all the guides, the databases, the e-journals, and all sorts of other things. If a book isn't in the library, you can actually request a library book, right? You can actually request that material to be bought for you. You can get homework support, math support. You can print your materials, you can scan your materials into your account, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things you can do through the Chalmers website, right? So that's how you do for finding a course syllabus. Same thing goes for program overview. Here I have something called, so this was course syllabus over here. Here I have something for selecting the courses. And so when you're studying, you will be choosing courses at a regular point in time. When you start studying, that is in September, your courses are mandatory and they've already been assigned to you. So you don't have a choice in those courses. So study period 1 very often will have obligatory courses that you have been assigned to. You don't have a choice in those courses. However, for study period 2, you will have to already then start choosing courses. So the way that happens is you will come here, you will search for the courses. You have all of this information here that tells you how it works, right? So this is for study period 2. The period of looking for courses starts on the 16th of September. So already 2 weeks after you started studying, you have to start choosing your courses for your next study period. It starts getting intense very quickly. So you have to come here, you start looking for the courses. How do I make a course selection? And all of that information is on this web page, right? How to select courses. Here you go. You are being given the answer for that. So you go to university admissions, and that's where you select your courses. But this will happen after you start studying, right? So there's a lot of different, again, let's continue over here. These are some Q&A about selecting courses. You've got a tracks course. This is something that's going to be super interesting for all of you because of the simple fact that these are courses that are cross-disciplinary. So we have a bunch of courses that are like this one here. Let's see, select these courses. Oh, we go back there. Here it is. Choose a tracks course. Oh, and it comes back here. The course is open for late applications. Let's see, I'm running between all sorts of links here. Overview of all the tracks courses. These are the ongoing courses that are available, right? So you can look at the first one here, which is advanced battery modeling and control, or athletic intelligence in robotics. These are topics that tend to be cross-disciplinary, and thus they also make it possible for you to study a course with students from all over the university studying different topics. So there could be a material science engineer studying together with a biomedical engineer and somebody that's studying mechatronics. And this kind of mix and match allows you to learn from their perspective also. These courses also tend to have a bit of a practical side to them. So you're learning quite a lot in terms of hands-on stuff. Plus, the biggest advantage is that these courses are actually held inside our 2,000 square meter, is it? 1,800 square
No,
meters?
yeah, or even more. Yeah.
Square meter maker space. So over there, you have access to 3D printing, textile design. You've got rapid 3D printing is rapid prototyping to some extent. There's a full athletic, so to speak, simulation space. There is, of course, computer rooms and things like that. There's a podcasting and a video recording room. There is all kinds of other stuff. I can't even start to kind of remember all the different things that they have. But there's a lot of different things: electronics labs, metalworking labs, woodworking labs, all sorts of stuff, right? So you have all of this available to you, and these courses are usually held over there. So it's a very good thing for you to try and at least put one of these courses as an elective into your choice of courses that you start choosing when it is time for you to start choosing courses. Right. And you can, of course, always go in here and you can see what that course is about and things like that. You'll also see over here back in the page that we came from the people that are hosting those courses. And once again, you can go to that will show you what happened. Oh, it's their email address. Right. So it's their email address. So you could contact them ideally to find out a little more about the course if you're interested and things like that. right? You have more. This is about how you register for a course. So choosing a course is not enough. You also need to be registered to it. So once you finish choosing and you're allocated the seat, you have to go and register for that seat as well. And this page explains how that is done. So as what I want you to basically take away from here is that the Chalmers website gives you too much information sometimes. And that's a good thing, because that means that all you need to do is to be patient and spend the time that you would ideally spend on these on this website to be able to learn what options you have available to you and what information you can find useful. So here is where you will find the open digital repositories, where you find the thesis and other papers that we've got that we make available outside, right? So I'm going to stop here now, and I'm going to start opening questions so that you can raise your questions. I hope you have a whole bunch of questions for us, right? Okay, let's go, guys. Now it's time for you to ask your questions. Otherwise, I'll also. Do I need to be physically in Sweden to apply for a Swedish number? Yes, you need to go to the tax office and hand in the paper yourself. You previously mentioned that a lot of students do not live in the center. What are some areas where students usually opt for when looking for a place? So students live in pretty much all over the city. Student housing generally also is not really always close to campus. There are a few housing spaces that are close to campus, but there are quite a few that are actually away from campus. Everything from city center. So here is something for you to remember also. Chalmers is not city center. Right? Chalmers is not city center. Chalmers is slightly outside city center, which means that even we are not necessarily, like it takes us about 12 minutes to get to the city center, or 10 minutes to get to the city center, right?
Well, in a bigger city, we would definitely be in the city center.
Exactly. And this is the thing too. I mean, it's always about scale, isn't it?
Yes.
Like we've traveled to countries where the cities are gigantic. Like we go to, let's say, Bangkok, or you go to a place like I don't know, Paris or Milano. You were in Milano just recently. It's a big city. And city center then tends to be a rather small part of the city. For us, the city center is a rather large part of the city, and we are technically just outside that, so to speak. The city is not very big. So when you ask about where you are going to be living, the city itself is very compact. So it is, I mean, with 30 minutes, you live in a town outside of Gothenburg.
Yeah, like 25 kilometers north.
And you take 40 minutes to get to Chalmers?
By train, it's 20 minutes, and then it's another 20 minutes from the central station to get
Chalmers.
Here.
Right. Yeah. And I have another colleague who lives in Gothenburg, and it takes her also 40 minutes to get to Chalmers.
Yeah.
So you must understand that these things are very, very fluid, right? Like they work in very different ways, and therefore living in Gothenburg is not the most difficult thing you will do. So which areas would you choose? That is entirely in your hands. There's no place that we generally say it's a no-go zone, right? Like there's nothing of that sort. This is an unsafe zone. What I would recommend for you to do is to see where student housing already is and see whether you can find a second-hand apartment around that area. That would be an easy way for you to also keep somehow close to other students. Next question we have is, do you have current experience with how long one has to wait for student housing? Well, generally speaking, as I said, if you look at student housing companies, about a year is how much you will have to wait. With public housing, that can be many years. But with private housing, it might be a much shorter queue or even no queue at all. And that depends on what kind of housing it is, right? Like who's offering it and what kind of contract we're talking about. If your contract is going to be a second-hand contract, then there is no queue at all.
There is a question here. Can I register in the waiting list to get access to student housing before I move to Sweden?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So you can create an account on these websites, the SGS and the Chalmers Student Bostäder. I would recommend you get in touch with them to understand the process, or check their websites to understand what the process is. You can You can also do that with the public housing companies, if I'm not mistaken. You can still do that even without a Swedish personal identity number. And then once you have your personal identity number, you can switch your account over to that personal number. If I'm not mistaken, this should be possible. Again, get in touch with the housing company, the municipal housing company website, Boplats, to know how that works out.
There is a question about having overnight guests. And because generally there is this one person per room or apartment when it comes to student housing, right?
Yeah.
And someone asked here if there is a rule that prohibit having guests there, and there might be, but
actually, I think that information was on our housing page. Let me see. But okay, I can answer the question actually before I even start to bring up the webpage or anything like that. It is basically that you are allowed to have overnight guests, but it's best that they don't stay very long. So one person staying overnight or something like that, not an issue. Like, you have your friend coming over from wherever. It's a short-term thing. It's a couple of days. It should not be an issue. But if they are staying for a long term, then you are basically renting the apartment to them, and that is not acceptable usually. Once again, this also changes from housing provider to housing provider. It's something that you must take up with them to be sure about what you can and cannot do.
Exactly. So you have to make sure with the provider that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
What rules that applies.
Yeah.
I have a question here that regards something else. When it comes to public transportation. Do we get a ticket for public transportation from Chalmers, or do we buy it from the company that runs the public transportation in Gothenburg?
You do that yourself.
Yes, you do.
So you buy it from the company directly, and you can get a student discount once you have your student registration with Chalmers. So you should be able to do that. Yeah.
Okay, now I just saw a similar question. Can my partner move with me in the student house? That's
what was the question?
If a partner can move in with someone in a, and that is generally no. So if it's a one-person apartment, it's a one-person apartment.
Once again, it's a housing provider question. You have to take it up with them. And then, of course, we do this. We don't know what you say and what you do. But
generally,
the rule is so if the apartment, and that's dependent on the contract also. In the contract, if it says it's a single occupancy apartment, that's what it is.
You can actually lose your contract if you don't follow the rules.
Exactly. So be careful. Whatever you do, be careful.
Do students have access to big computers? Can we use facilities for our own projects?
Yes. So you have access to computers at the university. There are a bunch of computer rooms and things like that. Every building more or less has one. So you will be able to access that. Generally speaking, you may not even need to have a laptop. Generally speaking, because you have 24/7 access to your building. So let's assume you're studying innovative and sustainable chemical engineering. You have access to the chemical engineering building 24/7. And you have access to the computer rooms there as well. So technically speaking, you do not need to own a laptop. Technically speaking. But then, of course, it's useful to have one because then you can do work from home and all of that stuff, and you can present stuff very easily and all of that stuff. So having a laptop helps, but you have access to all the computer rooms that you need to have access to, and the maker spaces and the other labs that you would not like to have access to. You can gain access to even labs that you don't normally have access by simply taking what is called a driver's license course. You learn how to use the equipment and you prove that you are good with that equipment, and that's it. Then you just have now access to that lab as well.
And the maker spaces you talked about, the tracks, you could also be part of that.
Yes, there's a student association called T-Rax. Okay, so here's the background to all of this. Gothenburg is a city that loves dad jokes.
Yes,
we love puns. So, and Chalmers more so. So we have the courses are called Tracks, as in TRACKS, and then we have a student-run organization that is part of Tracks called T-Rex, and that has a dinosaur, a T-Rex as its logo. And so you will start seeing this over and over again if you start paying attention to Gothenburg humor. And if you don't like Gothenburg humor, we have some thoughts about you. Yes.
But
No.
you have access to
Yes.
a
You have
lot of
access to a lot.
facilities.
And you can
also-
join tracks, as in
Yeah.
you can join T-Rex, Rex. Yes. I want to answer a question that's over
Yeah.
here, which says, is there a number of, if there is a, oh, I'm sorry. Is there a maximum number of attempts for one exam?
Yeah.
Not really. You can write an exam up to 3 times in a year. And if you want to write it 3 more times the year after that, you're more than welcome to do so. We discussed this yesterday. Failure rates for a course will be somewhere around 30%. And failing is not a bad thing. We, in fact, think that it's a good thing. Because if you fail, you can only learn. You cannot, it's not possible for you to fail and not learn. So getting better is the only option. So learning is going to be helpful, of course, and that means you can rewrite an exam, not only because you failed an exam, but also because you passed an exam and you want to make a better score. And the thing here that is the most beautiful thing for me about Chalmers. So I'm originally from India and I moved to Sweden in 2009 to do my master's at Chalmers. Today I think by now I've been working at Chalmers for about 12, 13 years. And there's one thing that really is a contrast to where I come from. Where I come from, failure is a bad thing, and it's a thing that shows up on your transcripts. It's a thing that shows that you are a failure of some sort, and it basically beats you down. Over here, what happens is you can rewrite an exam, and you wrote an exam, you got a score of 4, right? So our grading system goes from pass, 3, 4, fail, and then 3, 4, 5, right? So 5 being the highest. That's the highest grade you can get. Let's say you wrote an exam and you got a 4 and you said, I'm going to make this a 5. So you rewrite that exam. This time you get a 3. You actually get to keep the 4. You can never go down in your grade. You can only go up in your grade. And that is such a beautiful thing. You can only improve your score. You can never degrade it. So you can rewrite an exam as many times as you want. You're going to keep the highest score you get.
I have a couple of, I saw we only have 4 minutes left. But one question here about, does Chalmers provide Swedish language courses to international students who wants to learn it?
Right. So Chalmers offers Swedish lessons directly to fee-paying students, right? But the municipality of Gothenburg offers Swedish lessons to anybody with a Swedish personal identity number. So the thing you will do is the moment you arrive, you will register for a Swedish personal identity number. And the moment you get it, you will put yourself on the queue for Swedish for Immigrants, SFI. And that way you can get free Swedish lessons from the municipality of Gothenburg. And if you want to arrive earlier than let's say, before the semester starts, arriving a couple of weeks in advance is more than enough. You do not need to arrive earlier than that. If you want to, you're more than welcome to arrive earlier and to enjoy the Swedish summer, but you don't have to, right? Like if you are looking for a closest to arrival date, then I would say the arrival day is probably the best day to arrive.
I just saw one question here just to make things clear when it comes to courses. I didn't have the time yet to go through the pages you mentioned, but do I understand it correctly that I have to apply and register for a course beforehand?
So is that the end of the question?
No, and then I cannot withdraw from it afterwards. And that there are cases where the courses might get full and I won't get in.
So those are quite a few questions there. So as a new student, as you already know, your academic year is divided into 4 study periods. So when in September you arrive on campus, your first study period starts. Each study period usually has 2 courses in it. That is the nominal rate of studying. So you have 2 courses during each study period. Since you are going to be starting your studies in September, that first study period will include obligatory courses or mandatory courses or compulsory courses. And these courses are already assigned to you. So that means that you do not need to choose them. You only register for them.
Yeah.
Now, the next study period will be starting sometime in the end of October. So therefore, in September, you will start choosing the courses, the 2 courses that you will need to study in the second study period. That is when you choose the courses. At this point in time, you choose the courses, and then you will be allocated. You will be accepted into that course, and then when you get an acceptance is when you register for that course. Now, yes, there is a possibility that you may not get into a course. So it's a good thing for you to keep a track of which courses you want to study and when they are offered. Every course is offered usually only once, at the most maybe twice a year. So they might not be available in every study period. So it's a good thing for you to see, mix and match. And this is where you can also take advantage of speaking with your student counselor, your study counselor. There will be people who can help you identify when it is the best for you to take a particular course in order to go in a certain direction that you're hoping to go in. And there are also other people that are called education secretaries or building secretary, UBS they are called. And these people can also help you identify courses that will be in the line of your interest and things like that. So that is one side. On the other side, if you take a course and you realize this is not for me, it is possible for you to withdraw. There is a deadline within which you must withdraw. So you can do that as well, right? So it is possible for you to drop a course also. It's not that it's not possible. It is possible for you to do that. I hope I've answered all the different.
I think so. It was a comprehensive question, but I thought it was a nice thing to end with since we were talking about it a bit.
Wonderful. And that brings us to the end of today's session also. So I'm very, very grateful that you have paid attention and that you've, been listening to us and asking all of these questions. Thank you so much for all of that. This is the QR code once again to take you to the Unibuddy community. I think you're not able to see it. So I'm going to share.
No, we're not seeing it.
No. So I'm going to switch to the presentation once again. And what you're seeing now is the QR code that you can scan in order to.
Oh, there are a lot of parts.
I know. Thank you so much. Right? Go join all the communities. And if you don't find one that is yours, then suggest one. And we will be the ones that receive the review request for it. And if we see that your group is actually required that it doesn't exist already, then we'll simply accept it. Remember, we cannot see any conversation. We can only see the names of the groups. Yeah. So it is your private space. So you get to talk to each other in complete freedom. You can say bad things about us if you want to. We won't know. So have fun on that community. Make friends, and yes, we will see you in another webinar at another time. Yeah. This was the last webinar for the pre-departure. There will be some pre-departure activities in some of your countries. And for this, physical ones that are hosted by the Swedish Embassy in your countries. So please go to the Study in Sweden website and check for where they have the pre-departure events. Get in touch with the embassy if they have not already gotten in touch with you, and attend those pre-departure activities.
Do we have anyone from Iceland with us here?
Exactly.
We will have a
thumbs up if you're from Iceland or you're living in Iceland.
Or if they're not here, they're maybe waiting for tomorrow where we have a physical pre-departure webinar.
So one of our colleagues, I told you in the beginning that we have 4 people. One of us is called Sanna, and she is currently in Iceland, and she is going to be hosting this pre-departure event over there with the Swedish Embassy in Reykjavik. So yes, please go to the Study in Sweden website, find out whether your country capital is hosting a pre-departure activity through the Swedish embassy there. And if there is one, please feel free to attend. We will not be attending it. Most of them, we are not attending them physically. And that's why we host these sessions.
Yeah. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or to our student ambassadors. And we will also pay attention to the emails that we send out as well. There will come more information.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much once again. I will end the screen share and it will be just the 2 of us, Linda, on screen, and we can say goodbye. All the best.
Bye.
Get into your housing question. Get into your housing question. All right, let's end this webinar.